What's up? Welcome back to the channel. It is part 3 of my 3-part bench press series. Very excited about it. Thank you so much for watching and liking and subscribing and commenting. It means a lot to me and to Rico behind the camera. We've been putting a lot of work into it and we are so glad that it's been helpful. If you haven't seen the first 2 parts of the series, go into the description, check those out. In this, the 3rd and final part, I'm going to share with you 3 more tricks that you can use to help with your bench press. The first one in this series is a little trick you can use to make it so if you have a slippery bench press, you don't slide backwards on it, so you're more stable. The second one is a really important thing to understand in regard to your foot position. A lot of people aren't sure. Should your heels be up? Should your heels be down? Should they be far out? Should they be close in? Where should your feet be? We're gonna discuss that. And the third part is your lower back. Should you be arching? Should you not be arching? Is it safe to arch? How much should you arch? Gonna discuss all of this in this video so you understand all the technique cues, how to be safe, how to be stronger, and make sure you're doing the bench press properly. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe and hit the bell because apparently some people say that if you don't hit the bell, you're not gonna get notified of anything. So hit the bell to get notified when a new video comes out. Leave a comment below if I'm sitting on a physio ball and it's been very hard for me not to be doing this the entire time. If you like physio balls as much as I do, let me know in the comment section and that'll be cool. See you in a second. All right, so if you have a slippery bench press, which is very common in commercial gyms, New York sports clubs, Boston sports clubs, LA Fitness, Crunch, all these very commercial gyms, they don't have a lot of powerlifting or high-level weightlifting equipment. And so if you have a slippery bench press and you find yourself pushing back on the bench, so as you're setting up, as you're trying to get some more leg drive, you slide backwards, you can't be stable, it's obviously not gonna help you when you have a lot of weight on the bar and you wanna bench press and be safe. So there are 2 options that I have. The first one is to take a band, and what I'm gonna do in the description of the video is link to my personal favorite band so you can go and check it out if you'd like. To be fully transparent, this link, I do get a commission on it. It's very, very small. It's an Amazon link, so it's an Amazon affiliate link. If you wanna buy it from there, totally fine. Or if you just wanna Google search it and don't give me the commission, that's fine as well. Whatever is best for you, seriously. Any bands work. My personal favorite are either Westside Barbell or Rogue bands. They're fantastic. And as you can see, you wrap it around the bench lengthwise. So I believe if we're using like folding paper terms, this would be the hot dog way. It's not the hamburger way. You want the hot dog way along from the top of the bench all the way down to the bottom, wrap it around. And what you'll do is when you do this, you'll notice your clothing, your shirt is gonna get stuck onto the band so that you don't slide backwards. And that's basically the whole point of this. It's not magic, it doesn't do anything special, it doesn't magically increase your bench press, but it will keep you safer and more stable on the bench press so you're not sliding back. Now, if you don't have these bands and if you don't want to buy them, totally fine. You can use a very simple yoga mat. And so, like the one that I'm using in this video, it's not actually a yoga mat, it's just a simple mat that they have at this gym, Structure Personal Fitness in New York City. Fantastic gym. If you're in New York, check it out. Yoga mats work very well because they're very thin and they sort of mold to the bench and they're super sticky. So again, you don't slide backwards. And actually, you'll notice in this video, I slide backwards less when I use the mat versus the band. That's one of the reasons I like these mats because they cover the entire bench and the band only covers a part of it. But either way, they both work very well, super cost efficient, very effective. And if you get the bands, then you can use them for anything you want to use bands with mobility work, power work. And I have a lot of videos here on YouTube in which I teach you how to use bands as well, so you can check those out. So if you're struggling with a slippery bench press, try one of these, it's gonna help a lot. Now let's talk about foot position, which is one of the most debated upon topics in weightlifting, powerlifting, bench press. Everyone and their mother has a different idea whether your heels should be up, whether your feet should be forward, whether your feet should be back, where they should be. And I'm gonna talk about the best ways to do it in general, but let's first talk about the ways you should not be doing it because there are some really stupid ways to have your feet position, whether they're just right up, whether they're spread out, whether they're doing bicycle kicks, whether they're doing any number of things that for whatever fucking reason people decide to keep their feet up and try and do ab exercises while they're bench pressing. It makes no sense. And let's just all be aware we should keep our feet on the ground. Okay, let's keep them firmly placed on the ground so you're not wobbling trying to do a ab crunch or bicycle kick while you're bench pressing. It makes no sense and it's really stupid. I will say there is a time and a place for putting your feet on the bench. I think feet elevated on the bench with your feet flat on the bench, not elevated in the air. There is a time and a place for that, especially if you have some back issues or if you want to remove leg drive from the equation. Above all else, do not lift your feet off of the bench and have them waving in the air. It is absolutely ridiculous. Now, in terms of having your foot position on the ground, I'm gonna show you 3 different ways you can do it here, and these are my personal favorite. Now, the first one is just with your feet the furthest out. They're flat on the ground, your heels are not elevated, they're basically relatively far away from you because they're not, the whole thing is they're not underneath you, right? And basically what you'll see in these 3 progressions is my feet get progressively further and further underneath me, and with that, I'll get more of a big arch, and we'll discuss that. Keep your feet further out in front of you, and what this does is it has a relatively small arch, and it places a lot less stress on your lower back. You still do have an arch, a natural curvature that goes with your spine, but what this does is it keeps you in a good, stable position while keeping your shoulders safe, your back safe, and in a strong, stable position for a good bench press without necessarily creating too much stress on your lower back. Now, the next progression, you bring your feet a little bit further in towards underneath your body. And what this does is you can get a little bit more curve in the lower back, a bigger arch in the lower back. Your heels are still flat on the ground, and it doesn't, I wanna be very clear, raising your heels off the ground doesn't provide much of an advantage other than that it allows you to get a bigger arch. So as you get into more competitive powerlifting, you'll see some people in certain federations that allow it to have your heels coming off the ground. And that's what you'll see in the final progression here, in which your heels are really elevated just because it's literally impossible to get your heels on the ground when your feet are that far underneath your body. The major difference here, aside from putting a little bit more stress on your lower back with such a big arch and reducing the range of motion, is that when your feet are that far underneath you, you can create a huge amount of pressure, and it's called a huge amount of leg drive, and create a lot of tension from your feet all the way up through your upper back, which can really help have a much more stable, strong bench press. That being said, I do not recommend anyone do this last progression if you're not a competitive power lifter. There's no reason to stress your lower back like that. There's no reason to reduce the range of motion like that. And realistically speaking, if you actually want to build some real serious chest muscle, it doesn't make sense to reduce the range of motion that much. I would rather you be in the first or the second progression in this sequence if you're just a regular general lifter. And if you are more competitive power lifter, feel free to experiment with this third final progression. Just be aware it is much more stressful on the lower back, and you do get at a greater risk of lower back injury. And the third and final part of this video is your lower back position, and it very much goes hand in hand with part 2, in which we're discussing your foot position. And basically, as you saw, as your feet come further and further in underneath you, the bigger and bigger your arch will get. What's important to remember here, a lot of people will say, isn't having an arch bad for your lower back? And the reality is no. Your lower back, your spine, your lumbar spine has a natural curvature to it. No healthy spine is 100% flat. There's a natural curvature to the spine, and that's what you want to follow. That being said, you can excessively curve your spine. You can excessively arch your spine, and if you're just a general lifter, there's no reason to take it into that excessive type of an arch. But what's important to note here, when you do have a natural curve to your spine, when your lower back is arched in a normal lumbar curve, your shoulders stay down and back, and so that they're not rolling forward. You'll watch as I really flatten my back out, my shoulders will roll forward, which puts the front of my shoulders, my anterior shoulders, at risk for impingement and tearing and a lot of pain. And on the other end of the equation, you don't have to really arch up super high, because when you do that, again, put a lot more stress on your lower back, more than you need to, and you reduce a lot of the range of motion and a lot of muscle activation that you'd be getting in your chest. So a slight arch in the lower back is best for both keeping your shoulders safe and also getting the most muscle activation in your chest. If you want to experiment on either end of the equation, on the extremes, you're welcome to, that's up to you. But I will say, generally on either end of the extremes, it's when you get closer to injury, you get closer to really risking pain, injury, and things like that. When you're sort of sliding down the middle ground and you're able to stay like with a healthy lower back arch and also healthy shoulder position without going too far in either direction, that's where you tend to be the safest. So that's what I would recommend as my ultimate recommendation. I hope this helps. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. And also, if you have any questions about other movements, whether it's deadlifts or squats or overhead press or chin-ups or kettlebell swings, whatever you want to see, Rico and I, we can do another series like this covering technique, performance, all that. So leave them in the comments below. Tell us what you want to see. Maybe your top 3 movements, rank them 1, 2, 3, so we can do that and figure out how to structure our next series. I hope you enjoy it. Actually, just so you know, I believe the next video or within the next couple of videos, we are doing a video on how to calculate your calorie intake, how to figure out how many calories you need to eat specifically for fat loss. So if you want to watch that video and you are not yet subscribed, subscribe, hit the bell to get notified, and then we'll put that out in the next few days. Thank you so much. We love you. Talk to you soon.